Hey, what's up, guys? It's Justin Ford here again. Super excited for another great episode. I got a guest who's back for the second time, and she's going to be talking about how to win in your health in 2025 and 3 simple things you can do starting now. Make sure you tune in. You don't want to miss this one. What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Justin Ford Podcast, where I'll be releasing life-changing principles and valuable information focused on all things faith, finance, family, fitness, real estate, and so much more. Let's go! What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Justin Ford Podcast. Super excited to be with you here again today, and I hope you've been doing great since the last episode. If you're loving the show, do me a favor. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button here on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. And if you're really loving the show, go ahead and leave us a 5-star review. If you haven't followed me yet on social media, you can at The Official Justin Ford. Again, at The Official Justin Ford. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, X, and also here on YouTube. Got a great episode and a great guest in store for you today. But before we get into that, I do want to remind you that this episode is brought to you by my friends over at Nextdoor Lending. Nextdoor Lending is a team of professionals that believe everyone should be treated as if they live next door. The founders and team members have more than 150 years of combined loan experience, helping clients all over the country choose the best loan program to help you accomplish your goals. Nextdoor Lending is currently licensed in over 26 states and has a team of over 100 loan officers specializing in helping you get the best rate and terms. And so whether you're looking to refinance your home or you're looking to purchase your next home, call my friends over at Nextdoor Lending today at 888-885-3667 or visit their website at nextdoorlending.com. As I mentioned, I got a great guest in store for you today, and she is not a brand new guest. She's a returning guest, and the reason we bring people back is because they have something to value, and I believe that this episode is going to help every single listener go to the next level in their health and wellness. Welcome back, Jill Janiec. How you doing?
I am doing fantastic. I am on fire.
Yes.
For health and healing
for
people.
I'm so excited to have you back.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you guys didn't catch the first episode when Jill was on the show, that's episode 98. Johnny just reminded me it was episode 98. So you definitely got to go back and listen to episode 98. We'll obviously, Jill, have you share who you are, what you do, and talk a little bit about your testimony. But for people to hear the full testimony, definitely go back and listen to episode 98. But because we have some strategic stuff that you feel God's put on your heart to share today. And, you know, what I love about our podcast is, you know, we announce it in the beginning: faith, finance, family, fitness, health, and real estate. Because it doesn't matter how successful you are if you're not healthy, means nothing, right? Doesn't matter, you know, how great of a business or whatever you got if you're not mentally healthy, physically healthy, emotionally healthy, and spiritually healthy, it means nothing. And so I know you've been here before. We wanted to bring you back because there was so much we were talking about that first episode that there's so much more to talk about. But for those that haven't listened to episode 98 yet, talk about who you are and what you do.
Well, my name is Jill Janiec, and I own New Beginnings Nutrition, LLC, health coaching. So I work with churches. I work with business platforms, one-on-one coaching, online coaching, bringing the spirit, soul, and body principle. I have the full feast, not just maybe health, and not just emotional healing or mental health, but even I work with oppression as far as deliverance. So we realize generational things happen in people's bloodline. So they don't seem like they're going around the mountain instead of going up the mountain, and they're cycling. There's strongholds, yokes, bondages. Well, I had them all. That was my testimony because I didn't come to Christ till later in life. So really I had a rap sheet of a lot of sin, and I know your story as well. So there was a lot of process to bring healing and health to other people, but I had to first start with myself.
Absolutely.
So overcoming lupus, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, emotional issues. I was the poster child for guilt, shame, fear, grief, trauma. I had it all in my soul. I was divided. I was broken up. I had a broken heart, but I still had joy, and because it was who I was. others.
Yep.
And I'm always helping other people, but I didn't take care of myself.
Yeah.
And so I had to realize that time I had to stop. And even after being a Christian, you get your spirit, you feel like you're, nothing can stop you.
Right.
But at the same time, you just keep pushing because as a leader, you're strong.
Right.
But then you don't realize that you have to take care of yourself because now you can't get gratification on just helping others.
Right.
But you have to honor yourself.
Have to. And it's like they say when you're on an airplane and you experience turbulence and the mask comes down, you have to put your mask on first.
Yes.
Before you can
good.
Focus on putting somebody else's mask on.
That's good.
And so you've overcome a lot.
Yes.
And most people don't overcome as much as you have. Mm-hmm. But it's because you're a fighter.
Yes.
And what I found is, and you can touch on this too, is
yes.
when people just roll over and let their diagnosis win, it usually wins, right? But when you are diagnosed with something or you have a health issue or you've been labeled or diagnosed with something, that you can fight against that and you can overcome that.
Yes.
And what I found is anybody who's committed to fighting and really overcoming, a lot of times they do. Now, it's not 100% success rate because, some people fight and unfortunately lose the battle. But what I found is most people, when they're really committed to overcoming something specific, that they can win, and you have not just once but many times.
Yes, I say I'm Miss Victory because he named me Miss Victory.
Yeah.
And overcoming means a defeat cross over and
Right.
change into a transformation.
Yeah.
Well, I knew that I wasn't. I wanted to be more than what he told me I was going to be, and it wasn't sickness, it wasn't disease.
Right.
And I realized that a lot of it I could have brought on myself, others had brought on to me and the enemy,
Yep.
and generationally.
Yep.
So I wanted to actually purge the bloodline. I wanted my children not to experience what I had gone through. So that was a motivation. That was a fighting for me to say I don't want them to go through the pain, the suffering, and all the years of waiting. That I kind of was a late bloomer, but it was God's timing, right on time. There's no regret. At times, at first, you think, well, I didn't do this, I didn't do it. You blame yourself.
Yeah.
But I realized that what fueled my passion for my family to do it for them, but also to say that I didn't fulfill destiny yet. I didn't walk in my full promises of what God had prophesied over me.
Right.
So I was going to fight with him and partner with him.
Right.
But he's the ultimate warrior, and it's through my worship there's a weapon.
Right.
And through the proper eating and proper really being transparent and looking at yourself and not blaming other people for your situation.
Yeah, because everybody, we're responsible for what we put in our mouths. We're responsible for the things that we do, exercise, all those things. And, a lot of times, what happens to us, a lot of it comes on because we don't take care of ourselves, right?
That's it.
But I also want to kind of swing back to what you just said because of the listener. Not everybody that listens to this podcast are believers, so they might not understand. What do you mean by, things being carried through the bloodline? And what do you mean by, sickness or disease or mental health being passed down?
Absolutely.
The Bible talks about generational curses. It talks about how things get carried from one generation to another, meaning, you could be suffering, if you're listening right now, you could be suffering from something today that is a result of your grandparents or your great-grandparents that came down from generations. Can you touch on that for a second?
Yeah, you really, again, I want to talk about David in the Bible. For those that know the story, even if you're not a Christian, about David and Goliath.
Yep.
Well, you have to actually be a warrior. You're going to have to actually be the one that God called to actually change your whole bloodline because others in your prior generations didn't, or they didn't know what to do. Now you have discernment.
Right.
Now you realize that it was not only with you what you're going through, but you look at your mother and father's side and all the way back, you're like, wow, they had that sickness.
Yeah.
Well, they had that mental health. They had the attitude or poverty mentality. Then you wonder, why is it that it's even stronger in your life and you're fighting to come out of this old wineskin into a new wineskin of who you really were created to be.
Yeah.
And that's the fight that you have because you know that you're hungry for purpose and destiny. I feel like God put that in you, that desire to be able to recognize and give you the wisdom and prayer and meditation. Like, what is this root system that I keep cycling in? And I'm not going to go through another cycle. Sometimes you don't realize that after 10 years you've been in cycles. And you have to identify them.
Yeah, and a cycle is a pattern that you continuously get stuck in, and you repeat specific behaviors or habits or things like that. Especially, again, for those that are listening that might not understand this.
Yes.
I'll give you a perfect example. Is I went on Ancestry.com just to kind of see how far my family, went back. It's pretty interesting to see, when you start opening this thing up, how many people are responsible for one way or another like creating you, right? Like so many people. And what I found is on my mom's side of the family up through my grandpa's side of the family, and this is what we mean by like a generational curse, right? Is untimely deaths. I saw that all the way up 4, 5, 6 generations back of, you know, people dying in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s. You know, my grandpa's sister died at like 9 years old of cancer.
Wow.
My cousin, she died at 32 of cancer. My uncle, her dad, died at a very young age. And then my cousin who passed away, her brother is dealing with some stuff right now. And so it's like you look back through a generation or a lineage, and I prayed into this, and I'm like, holy cow, there is some things that have happened over the years that why are all of these people dying at such a young age, or you know, something happening, and that's a generational curse. There's something there that is causing those untimely deaths. And so
and that's like when you see suicide in the bloodlines, these things happening over and over. Like mine was an anxiety disorder or a mental illness.
Yeah, where it runs in the family.
Runs in the family. And then you end up seeing alcoholism in the family. Yeah. And then you're seeing lust. I mean, things like adultery.
100%.
You know, a lot of these
where it's
things.
like repeated from generation to generation.
And you don't want to, it's like some of these things you don't want to do, you end up doing them because there's like a force behind it working against you until you get filled with the Spirit.
Yeah, yeah. And so this is an interesting question that I'd like to pose to you, Jill, because I know we're speaking in spiritual terms.
Yes.
But let's just say someone's listening right now and they're not a Christian.
Yes.
Or they don't understand spiritual things, but yet they're dealing with something. They're dealing with depression. They're dealing with a generational thing. Now, obviously, our immediate answer is come to the Lord, because the Lord can heal you, save you, and help you. But is there a practical, again, is there something they could do?
Yes, and the biggest thing is awareness.
Awareness, okay.
Okay, and also recognize the patterns. Be sensitive. Instead of just being busy and distracted and you just keep covering up with going out and drinking and then eating. I mean, you're always trying to cover up the things that are really in your root system and your soul.
Wow, that's good.
So you have to allow God to expose them. Even pray to God. If you don't even believe in, you just say, God, expose these things in my soul and my heart that I can know how to grab a hold of them and what is it?
Yeah.
Because sometimes we're just beating the wind, but we have to have discernment to know what is that called?
Yeah.
And what that is.
Yeah.
And I feel that's the biggest thing of awareness, and then ask the right questions.
And that's good, because I know that even the awareness of what is your body telling you? Because sometimes our bodies are telling us something and we're ignoring it, right? Maybe we're afraid to go to the doctor and find out is something wrong with me.
Yes.
And you hear that from some people. They're like, I just didn't want to go to the doctor because I didn't want them to tell me something. But then you go to the doctor because it's too late, and then you're diagnosed with something, and they say, well, if you would have came back, or if you would have came sooner, you know what I mean? And so that's a part of awareness, right? Like if you know something is going on in your body,
or your behaviors.
Or your behaviors, same thing.
You're actually what comes out of your mouth.
That's good.
Okay, ooh, I feel that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, with me, it was anger. Well, I didn't know anger was anger. I was so familiar with it. I operated in anger and control almost all my life because of fear.
And you
because
didn't even,
of fear.
Yeah.
But then I realized that fear was weakening me. When you look at science, you have 2,000 to 3,000 toxins that are released with fear.
Wow.
Because that's the flight or flight. That's the adrenaline.
And that goes into your blood.
It goes into your blood, and we're not to operate in that realm like all the time. It's just life-saving tactics. But we're living that way every day because what's in the soul, even if maybe around me seemed peace, but in me I had no peace.
Yeah.
So I was always constantly angry or control because I was out of control. And so then you try to control everything around you to find that peace, and it's really a false peace.
What came to me when you were just saying that, because I even look at where I'm at in life right now, I'm 42. Why is it that sometimes it's not until you get older until you really start noticing these things or seeing these things? Like when you're young, it's like you just said, you're ripping, you're running, you might be an angry person and you don't even realize you're angry, or you might be like, why does it take time to eventually start to recognize those things versus maybe catching it prematurely so it doesn't like linger for years and years?
I think some of it's ignorance, I think it's distraction, deception, but I also think it's maturity.
Maturity, yeah, that's
because
good.
I feel what happens is that you're not ready to take the responsibility, or you don't even know it's a problem.
Yeah.
Because again, you're actually from a bloodline.
Right.
And you're familiar with that. And you've seen your daddy do it. Yeah. That's your norm. And you're
this is how you grew
and then
up.
you go somewhere else and like, that's not normal. Wow.
Or you get married, right? And you think, well, hey, I'm just acting the way my dad did with my mom. But then you get married and then
your wife's like saying, no,
right?
You're not going to go there.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so again, it's coming out. That's why we need each other and other families and other people, the counsel, the coaching.
Yeah.
You know, of course, always the Lord, seeking him.
Yeah.
But also seeking him as a couples too, you know, because when you're married, I mean, I've been 35 years, so we've been through a lot of,
Yeah.
What we've had to always put love first, forgiveness first. And that's the biggest thing of healing. You have to forgive others, and you have to receive from God forgiveness, because you actually always feel condemned.
Yep.
You always feel guilty, and then what that does, it makes you want to do a crazy stuff.
And when you're constantly feeling that way, that's going to come out in your relationships and your work and everything.
And
else
even
that
your
you
confidence. Do. Again, it says in 3 John 2, beloved, I desire that you prosper, be in good health.
Yes.
Even as your soul prospers. Now that health's just not physical; it's emotional, mental.
Yep.
And actually, you'll see everything flourish, but it takes time. Why is it God can't be overnight?
Right.
You know, but then God will give you seasons of cleaning out the house.
Yeah.
Where he's saying you got to clean the house, the clutter. Like you have to take the time to pull back. So there's balance, there's boundaries. You can't just keep going trying to get God on the run.
Well, and I think that's probably why too.
Being still.
Yeah. Why most people don't want to address what's going on is because it's not instant, and it does take work, and it is hard. And you know, even from the physical side, you know, working out, eating right, you know, taking care of yourself. Discipline. And here's something so powerful. I was at a conference last week in Phoenix, and here's what the speaker said. He said, discipline is the greatest form of self-love.
Wow, that's good. That's good.
Discipline is the greatest form of self-love, because when you're disciplined and you're taking care of you're loving yourself. When you're disciplined, you're loving yourself. And so when you're not disciplined, what you're technically saying is, I don't really love myself enough to take care of myself.
Yes, because there's insecurities, there's abandonment issues, betrayal. So you don't take care of yourself because you don't honor yourself because your parents didn't honor you to the degree you needed to. But and you have to know who you are and your identity, because when you know you're called, you have an assignment, you have a purpose.
Yeah.
That makes the difference, because you want to then take care of yourself. If you're just going around and you don't have any vision, what do? We perish.
Yeah.
And then we don't have anything to look forward to.
Yeah, and that verse, you know, people perish for the lack of knowledge.
That's it.
But then there's this other part of the verse, and a different interpretation of the Bible is people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge.
That's deep.
Perish versus destroyed. And it's so true, because many people are perishing, even maybe listening to this, you know, podcast, not perishing as in like,
they just don't have the knowledge.
Because of the knowledge. Yeah. But once you gain the knowledge and the wisdom, if perishing or being destroyed is the result of lacking knowledge, then by gaining knowledge, you have the ability to experience life in that more abundantly.
And that's applying it.
Yeah.
See, wisdom's applying it. And you have to always walk by faith.
Yeah.
Because once you get the knowledge, now you have a decision to walk by faith, applying the wisdom that you've heard.
Yeah.
And then once you do, you're going to see results. And really the results are freedom.
Right.
Now, who doesn't want freedom?
And we all want that.
But then we are willing to pay the price and sacrifice for freedom.
And that's what
for our own personal lives. But then once you become a freedom fighter, you can help others to get free.
And that's
what's a sweet spot.
Yeah. And so that's what you've done. And I'd love to talk about that today. And so obviously you've overcome a lot, right? Physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. When did you get to the point where you're like, you know what? I need to help others with this?
I would say that after God brought me through the process, I couldn't do it presumptuously.
Right. Yeah.
I had to be taken aside with him for 7 years. Give all the ministry. Now that was my call. Give all the ministry, everything that birthed out of me. Now I'm going to be with him.
Yeah.
And it was our time for me to know the bridegroom and the intimacy of secrets of his heart, knowing who he is, knowing who I am, in a degree other than just ministry.
Right.
And so 7 years he brought me through my childhood all the way up until that point.
Yeah.
So he showed me and trained me in the Bible, showed me and trained me in deliverance, inner healing, nutrition. I didn't know any of this. The church wasn't teaching it. I didn't even know nothing about protein, carbs, and anything. I didn't know it. I had to learn for my own, and hungry to know the truth about my body and how to cure it naturally.
Yeah.
and supernaturally through the word, really discovering the Bible's a medicine. As I speak the word and not the cursing or, I'm pain, this and that. Well, I was just going to stay in a stagnant place.
Right.
I had to get my mouth in alignment.
Right.
Because, you're worried, you're complaining, however.
Yeah.
But I'm saying once I went through that process, it was a 7-year process. Now, again, I was still connected with the church. I was helping people along the way, but it wasn't a business.
Right.
It wasn't like the full blown yet.
Right.
But I remember a birthing. I remember him saying that I'm birthing it. And then I knew that that I birthed something that I was completed, finished. And now I didn't even want to go out and do anything yet because I was saying I had the fear of God.
Right.
When you experience the fear of the Lord, the love of God, and you're repenting, but you're also in the love of God, through that process, I had to repent for my whole bloodlines.
Right.
And I had to repent for my participation in it. I had to take responsibility, even though they did it, because I wanted to take it for my children. So it was a blessed time. It was the best of time and the worst of time, discovering Him, but also discovering sin.
Right.
And what it does to you, and being responsible for my own.
Yeah.
So, but then when the Lord brought me through that cleansing, spirit, soul, and body, through everything, I remember going to a church and I said, Lord, if you want me to start stepping out with this, then I'm ready to go. And a prophet called me up and he said, woman of God, come here. I said, okay. He said, I want to let you know it's time. God is saying it's time. You went through the process and now the fire of God's on you. It's time to go. It's time to move. And it's time for you to start your ministry. So I mean, God made it so clear. Because I even was in the nest. I felt like a big eagle now, is all, healed and whole. And I'm in this nest saying, I'm not leaving the nest, but I'm outgrowing it. And now He's saying, you're going to fly.
I love that.
So actually then 2008, birthed the New Beginnings LLC, nutrition and healing for all nations.
Wow.
So He birthed a ministry and a business. Again, I didn't despise small beginnings. I was being faithful, mostly underground, but doing coaching and people, because a lot of it's very intimate. When people need deliverance or emotional healing, there's a lot of pain. And He's always had it hidden because a lot of people didn't understand. And but then the Lord's now bringing me out more with conferences, and business groups and things like that, because I love being at practical where people are at. Now I can go deep because people want to go deep. There's others that just are interested and they want to start something. So wherever you want to go, I'll go with you.
So you can meet them wherever they are.
Because I was actually solely ignorant on that side of the fence. And now on this side, extreme. So I work with people whether they're in kindergarten or they're, just graduating or in college. I can work with wherever they want to be. Whether it's diet, whether it's emotional, whether it's looking at the generational, whether it's exercise even, saying I need some help, I got to lose weight. Let's get practical too.
Even that accountability
piece. Accountability coach.
That's solid. And what I love that you're doing, Jill, is you're not only teaching and helping, but you're doing it out of, I've been where you are, I've been through this, and now I can help you get through it as well. But when you were speaking, what I sensed, especially even for those that are listening right now, is a lot of times from an awareness standpoint, or we just kind of sense and we know something's off, whether it's in our health, whether we're stuck in a pattern or a cycle, whether there's something emotionally going on or spiritually going on. A lot of times we just don't know because it's been all of these years. Like maybe we come from a traumatic childhood, which that's a lot of times where things start. Right? The enemy attacks us when we're vulnerable. We go through this, this period of life growing up. Maybe we were bullied, taken advantage of, all these things. And then we get to this, being an adult, right? Now we're just supposed to go figure it out. And yet we don't figure it out, and we just continue to let this baggage and this trauma and these things play out into their life. For me, it led me into drugs and alcohol abuse and all the things that I did, which almost took me out. And I had no real revelation or understanding of why I was doing that. And there could be people listening right now where they're like, maybe food is their thing, or money or sex or any of these things that they're just kind of like, this is the thing that I'm clinging to meet a need, but it's not really meeting a need. It only makes it worse.
That's it.
Is everybody, and I can say this confidently, everybody has something that they're dealing with, struggling with, or experiencing, whether it's in the physical, the emotional, mental, or spiritual.
Absolutely.
And what you're doing is you're meeting people where they are. And God is using you to bring a solution to that person. And what I love about your coaching, because you're my coach and we work together, is it's not just cookie cutter. You're not saying, okay, so turn to page 1 and we're gonna. No, you're even if they're not a believer, you're still relying on the Holy Spirit to guide you and to help you kind of see where they are and help them navigate through that, which to me is powerful because, like you said, we all want freedom.
That's it.
We all want freedom from the things that are hindering us and holding us back. And unless we're willing to take action, pay the price, and do the hard work, we're never going to be free. And I'm doing it in my own life right now, right? Like one of the biggest things that I've struggled with is my physical health, right? Eating right, proper nutrition, staying consistent in exercise. I went for a 2-mile run last night, and it was very difficult, and yet the way that I feel after I run is amazing.
Yes.
And running helps me. And I almost feel like there's a constant attack on that area of my life. And I could either just say, you know what? I'm not fighting this thing. I'm just gonna let whatever is coming against me come against me and just roll over. Or I can say, no, I'm gonna make the decision to eat right. I'm going to make the decision to, seek the Lord and, renew my mind. I'm going to have a coach. Yes. I'm going to do all these things because I want freedom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking about Rocky. He had a coach, right? I mean, and Rocky actually had self-discipline.
Right.
But again, you can get a little soft, right? Because then he had to come back another round. He lost what he thought he was, I'm okay.
Yeah.
But again, it's a lifetime of maintaining. Yep. So even though I overcame in 2008, I have to maintain my freedom.
Yeah.
And I have to take more ground in that territory that I've had. I'm the land, right?
Yeah.
I got to take more ground. So I keep moving forward, taking more ground for me and my family.
Yeah.
And then for other people coming on board with me.
Yep.
And my biggest thing is that's resistance. A lot of people don't want to sweat.
Right.
Your resistance actually is resisting in the spiritual realm, emotional, mental, everything against your feelings.
Right.
Everything against your 5 senses.
Right.
You have to have the faith to move forward. And that faith is going to propel you. And even there's natural faith. People that don't know God have a faith that actually accomplish healing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing,
Yeah.
Because there's spiritual laws.
And I was going to say it's a universal principle.
Everybody can get on board with it.
Yeah.
But what I love about the Holy Spirit and becoming a Christian, you're going to get inside information.
You're going to get inside information.
And you're going to actually have the grace to maintain it and the strength that you need, because a lot of times you can do things in your own strength.
Yeah.
Now, we have to always keep surrendering and asking God for more grace in those hard places, because it's the grace that's going to help us to overcome until we get actually to that promised place.
To that promised
place. And that grace is the ability to help other people. So you can't help anyone unless you have that grace to that degree.
Yeah.
When you overcome, there's graces on your life and giftings on your life that are going to accelerate people into freedom.
I love that.
And I love that because now I have grace in my marriage, 35 years overcoming many things.
Yep.
Grace for raising children, grace for overcoming health, grace in my business, starting something that I couldn't even speak as a young child. I was so fearful. I had a stutter.
Wow.
So I've overcome that and overcome generational things. So what I mean is you're always in a resistance.
Yeah.
But again, there's time to rest, time to resist. You can't live like in a fight all your life.
No.
You eventually have to find a place to rest, because I'm the visionary too, and I always want to keep moving.
Yep. And that goes back to being intentional, intentionally finding rest, because we live in a time and in a generation where it's fight or flight, go, 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 because we always feel like we have to be working, doing, being. And
it's finding the balance.
It's finding the balance.
Because listen, though, because you got the rest, but don't be so restful that you're not pressing.
Exactly.
There's a rest and a press.
So
you can rest, but you can't work out with 200-pound weight and just keep pressing. You're going to tear down and break down.
Yeah.
But you have to rest to recover your body from working out, so you can actually build greater muscles.
That's so good.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, no, that's so good. Now, so I know we wrote down a few things that we could potentially go on, and I want to go here because I think this is good, and I think this will speak to anybody listening. Is you wrote down prioritize yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
I know rest is one of those things, but for those that are listening right now, we have a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business people, real estate agents, people that just tune in. How can one and how should one prioritize themselves and what that looks like? Because a lot of times we just put everybody else first.
Yes.
A lot of times we don't take care of ourselves. We talked about that in the beginning of the show. Put the mask on first before you can help somebody else. And sometimes I think people feel prioritizing yourself is selfish.
That's it. That's what they think. Yeah.
So talk to us about
that. Like I think leaders want to lead, but we don't take time to allow us to lead ourselves to the degree we need to. Leading ourselves to more healing, more rest, getting at coach, and the balance and the boundaries,
Right.
like I was saying here, exercise, sleep, managing stress in your personal and your work life, all of these elements. But I guess the beginning of it, I would say to really, they say self-care. And again, I don't go into all the degree of that, but I want to take care of myself.
Yeah.
Is again, finding that place of rest so you can have a plan.
Yeah.
Everyone's plan is maybe different in their rest element for refreshing.
Yeah.
And maybe it is the exercise, or maybe it's going out into the nature, and maybe it is a vacation. But again, it's really your soul has to find rest.
Right.
So you have to begin to take that place where, like, I'm going to care enough about myself and honor myself, and to tell myself, you know what, I can't keep this anger going.
Right.
This fear, or I can't keep on this schedule.
Yeah.
Because I'm burnt out.
Right.
And I need to take a step back because now my wife, I'm not with her as much, or my kids, I need to spend more time with them. And so you can be driven by performance. You can be driven by money, fear.
Yeah.
So you have to recognize the fears. Those are really the subtle things.
Goes back
Start
to that
taking
awareness.
care of yourself.
That awareness you were talking about.
And that's, you only can't hear with all the confusion and the chaos and the voices around.
Yeah.
But you have to come away from that and be in the silence. A lot of people are afraid of silence.
Yeah.
What am I going to see in myself?
Right.
What is it that God's going to tell me, because they're thinking the hammer's going to fall on them.
Right.
They don't know the love of a father.
Or we're just uncomfortable being in a silent place because we're so used to being distracted on our phones,
That's
with work,
stimulation.
Stimulation.
And then it seems like something's wrong when we're actually at peace.
Right.
When we're supposed to be at peace and be everything right.
When we are supposed to be at peace, absolutely.
But, my biggest thing is, like, the leaders have to lead leaders, and we're just wanting maybe spiritual, even in the church, or, we're leading leaders in money, real estate, and all of the different things that you do to create money.
Yep.
But are we leading the leaders into understanding who they are, and also to get the healing that they need?
That's so good.
And also even like, what is it that you're weak in that I can help you with, that I can resource you out? Like, I know some things, but I don't know everything.
Yeah.
Because you want to build that person up on the inside, because really it's going to affect finances, it's going to affect relationships, it's going to affect the community and the team.
Yeah. And we see that even with, like, pastors in the church. This has become super, it's becoming more consistent than we would hope, is like you have pastors committing suicide.
Yeah.
Pastors getting into homosexual relationships, committing sexual sin, getting on drugs, because they think, well, I'm the pastor, I'm responsible for all these people, I'm pouring into all these people, but I'm not taking care of myself. And, and this goes back to, like, coaching, mentorship, accountability is.
Yes.
So if you're a CEO, or you're a team leader, you're a business person, or, you're the head of the household, you're a mom, we need support. We need each other. God designed us to need others. And when we are by ourselves, which God never intended us to be, God never intended us to do this thing called life by ourselves. That sets up the enemy to, because here's the thing, even if you're not a believer, this is the thing, even if you're not a believer, you don't follow Jesus, you don't claim the Bible, doesn't change the fact that Satan is out to get you.
Oh, absolutely.
His mission is to steal, kill, and destroy, not just Christians, but people in general. And what I love what you said is, but when you become a believer, now you're covered, now you're connected, now you have insider information, and you have God to help you along that path. But it's so important that we need others along the journey to help us.
Yes.
Especially if we're going to prioritize ourselves, we need to lean on somebody else's expertise, somebody else's accountability, somebody else's help. And that's obviously what you're doing from a coaching standpoint. And again, it's not like a cookie cutter health and fitness, coaching. It is almost like a customized blueprint plan downloaded from the Holy Spirit for you to come alongside of someone and say, hey, this is how we're going to see you through this and help you through this. And so,
like assessment. It's
it's an assessment.
It's like if you go to a doctor, they're going to assess your health.
Yeah.
Now you go to a counselor, they're going to assess your health. Now the doctor's not going to tell you your emotional, mental.
Right. No.
Okay, he's going to tell you your physical. Right. Now what I do is a mental, emotional assessments, looking where you're at,
and
your
spiritual.
past, the spiritual and the nutritional.
Yep.
So it's important. Like you would go to a holistic coach, you're going to go to a medical, you go to a counselor. I think all of those things are good.
Yeah.
Even if you're doing medical, but again, just always use wisdom because there's natural things to help with the medical, the natural medicine too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I know this is a big one because we wrote this one down too, and I'd love for you to touch on this because this is something I was just watching a video the other day about cholesterol and blood pressure. A lot of times is due to stress because it stresses your kidneys, and then your kidneys, how do we create stress management in our lives, right? Because a lot of the people, again, that listen to this show are busy, selling real estate, ripping and running, got a lot going on. And what I've found, and you could even touch onto this, stress management and set boundaries, is most people don't even set boundaries. Most people work 7 days a week and never rest or take breaks. What are some ways that those that are listening right now can apply stress management and also set boundaries?
I think it's real important that you have a plan. You're going to keep doing the same thing over and over and expect results. That's insanity.
Yep.
Okay. You
got to have a plan.
You have to have a plan. You got to be in that structure. Now, again, you might fall down in it. You might not do it all every day, but until that becomes you,
right,
then you're going to end up coming into that sweet spot of balance
that's good.
And lifestyle. And even looking at yourself of your motives of why you do what you do.
Yeah.
And that's important too, because that's the hidden root system. Right. The plan is good, but say, okay, now how is it affecting my wife, my children, my health?
Right.
Be real, and that I have to know that these things will happen. I don't have to push them to make them happen.
Yeah.
And realizing that, are we driven by fear? Are we driven by these things that are toxic that are actually going to increase our adrenaline systems? And it constantly, we can get addicted to adrenaline.
Right.
I got addicted to a lot of things.
Right. Yeah.
And now I'm addicted to adrenaline. I'm not doing any of those things as a Christian,
right,
but I'm addicted to adrenaline because I'm, wanted to perform or perfectionist, or I somehow wanted to find acceptance or identity in that back in the day.
Yeah.
So then that drove me. So I had to recognize, again, awareness, but seeing, okay, what is it? Stress management. Again, let's be practical again. You have 24 hours in a day. You got to know when to rest. Yeah. You got to know when to shut the phone off. You got to know when, you need to be with your family and not working, and you got texting going, you got computer. Well, hold on a minute, like you don't want to be, you don't want to do that with your family,
right?
Because your family's first, so there's just some practical things. Also prioritize yourself and your health as far as exercise, your nutrition, because that's de-stressing you. Yeah. And also, again, most of all, meditation. Now, meditation, again, there's good positive affirmations, but really the meditation, you have a Father in heaven, that you're going to meditate on his goodness towards you, his love towards you, his acceptance towards you, his approval towards you. You're significant. You have to understand these things. And it's a growth process of maturity.
Yeah.
But I'm saying is that some of the stress relievers is, again, even those that are not believers can come into that meditation and that quietness. And
that's really
refreshing.
what meditation is, right? It's getting into a quiet place. It's quieting yourself down. It's keeping all distractions out of there and just breathing, thinking. It's being present and aware.
Yes.
And I've heard, and I'm still working on this area of my life, but I've heard that brings amazing results in your health, mental, emotionally, even physical health.
Absolutely.
Just breathing and being present and working through some of those things. I want to go back to exercise because I think that regular physical activity is so important, and yet so many people neglect it because it's hard. Again, it goes back to discipline, right? And what I've found is even just walking.
Absolutely. Let's keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Go for a 10-minute walk to start. Go for a 15-minute walk to start. You don't have to go run a marathon. You don't have to go pump it up in the gym.
Right.
But just doing something regularly, consistently.
Yes.
And again, it's not just for your physical. I know every time I go for a walk, I love walking my neighborhood, which is about 2 miles in a big circle. When I get done with that 2-mile walk, I usually like to go at night, and so it's dark and it's kind of brisk and cool outside. I feel amazing.
Oh, absolutely. And you're healthy endorphins.
Yeah.
So there's science that's proven that as you get the body moving, it's cleansing your heart, your liver, your kidneys, your blood. Like everything's moving. And your joints, your bones. Yep. Like there's actually oxygen flowing through it. Yep. So again, if you're sediment, if you're not moving, again, that ends up not flourishing. Detox. Right. Your skin is the largest organ that detoxes. Yeah. So you're sweating in the sauna. Right. You're sweating in the workout. You're getting out the toxins of the world.
Which God designed to be that way.
Yeah, to detox our bodies on an everyday basis. But the problem is if we're not doing the right things, we're actually building up the toxin instead of detox. Yeah.
And people don't even realize that the toxins are in the air. They're in the things we eat and drink and just everything that we touch, our shampoo, our tooth, everything
chemicals.
is chemicals.
Well, my thing is too to keep it simple. Like that's where I start with people because we're talking a lot about from plan A to Z, a lot of the things we spoke of.
Yep.
But really, again, if you're not exercising, let us start with something simple. What can you do?
Right.
Well, my knee's hurting. Okay, well, we can do this on the bike.
Right.
Or you can swim or just do a chair exercise.
Right.
So I've got to assess where they're at, not where I'm at.
Right.
Then I'm like, okay, are you drinking enough water? I'm
huge.
dehydrated.
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to feel good and energy.
No.
And some simple things that can be undercover that could change your life.
Right.
2-3 things. So we work on that until they do it.
Yeah. And then you build off of the momentum of that and you just keep building it out.
So you keep building.
Yeah.
That's it.
So what I hear you saying is 3 things that somebody could do right now, if they're listening, is rest, right? Find an intentional day, find intentional time. Rest is so important.
Yes, and even write your vision and then the goals that go with it. Again, don't set yourself up with a high standard. Just work with the goals you want to do and then start with that one goal.
Yeah, so I wear a Fitbit, and one of the things that I track every day is my sleep. And I can see whether
you sleep through the night.
Yep, and it gives me a sleep score.
Oh wow, I like that.
So it gives me a score every night, and then it tells me how many hours that I actually slept. Not how many hours I was in bed, but like because you toss and turn it.
Yes, yeah.
So it's like
good.
And what I found is, and they say this, that as human beings we should be getting 8 hours of sleep.
Absolutely.
Because sleep, when you sleep, is healing your body. It's regenerating your body. It's your body is restoring itself.
It's a reset.
It's a reset.
It's like an eraser too.
Every night.
On your brain.
Every night. But if you're not sleeping, if you're not getting enough sleep, then you go back into that fight or flight because your body needs a certain amount of rest.
And actually you're going to eat more of the wrong foods.
Yep, I've heard that
because you're
too.
releasing a hormone that actually you're going to end up being crabbier emotionally and you're going to eat the wrong food.
Yep.
And also you're not going to lose weight. You lose weight now, y'all ladies and everyone. You'll lose weight while you're sleeping.
While you're sleeping.
And actually,
your body's fasting.
You're healing hormones when you're between 10 and 2 o'clock is your greatest healing for hormones and for reset and rejuvenation of your body because you've been breaking down all day. Even though you're working out, that's still good, but your body's still breaking down and then it will build up. So you want more muscle and then 10 to 2. So if you get to bed, I know here in the winter it's easier for us, but come summer, the light's on, or we want to stand.
Sometimes till 10, close to 10.
So, but again, that's about eating. My goal too is about trying to eat before 6.
Yeah.
Because I had, everything with Christmas and all that. So again, because then you won't be waking up and you already had digested the food.
Right.
And then you're kind of doing a chamomile tea, make me some magnesium at night, and you're starting to turn off the lights because your serotonin is released with the darkness.
Yep.
Or no, melatonin.
Yeah, melatonin.
So you're starting to get sleepy, and then again, I have a joke because every time you read the Bible and you're there, you'll be out because no one wants you to read the Bible. But it actually, you just meditate on the scripture. Meditate on, maybe if you have a YouTube in your room, just meditate on something that's going to actually calm you down. And then I always like to finish off with the second. When you have your first morning time with the Lord and then at the end. At the end, It's like, that's the really biblical if you look at how David operated, the first and last offering that he gave. But it doesn't have to be like in the morning and you're up an hour praying and all that and worshiping, but just like saying thank you, Lord, and then release any forgiveness you need so you can sleep through the night. Lord, if there's anything I did or said, I want to release that to you. And then just be thankful and grateful, and then you'll find a peace in that instead of just hopping right in bed from eating and then you're on the phone and that radiation is radiating and you're not radiating. It's the radiation and your eyes will start, your retinas, your corneas will start getting weaker from the phone. And if you got them right here, it says you're too close. Remember in the younger with me with TVs, that they go, don't get close to the TV. And we'd be sitting in front of a TV. How much more now?
Now we've got a mini TV.
So that actually affects your pineal gland. Your pineal gland is how you think and your emotions.
Right.
So now if you have that phone right here, it actually starts weakening your gland and your focus and even your feelings. And we see a lot of people numb. And just going motionless, and they're like, like that. So we have to be careful. Because that will keep you up.
Yeah. So number 1, get some quality rest. Number 2 is hydration. We talked about, you just said that. How much water should people be drinking? I know they say sometimes it's based on your body weight. Sometimes people say, 6, 8 ounce glasses, a day.
I always just say the body weight because your body's like a kid at 12 years old is going to be different from a man 40 years old.
Right.
You're not going to.
They say half of your body weight, right?
Yeah. So, and then like with me here, like I'll take this and I'll fill it 3 times. That's how much I need, because you have to have a guide, else you won't do it.
And my guide is I usually, if I'm doing 3 liters a day, so 3 1-liter bottles a day, I'm usually hydrated. That's that's kind of the thing that I target.
And actually, too, a lot of people don't realize that fat hydrates you more than water.
Right.
And everybody's fat phobic and fat free and all this. No, it's actually the worst thing for America.
Right.
The oiling of America with canola oil, Wesson oil, and all these hydrogenated oils causing the cholesterol and the increase of the processed food, boxed food, canned foods, and all the hidden ingredients we don't even know what it is, blocking the arteries and increasing cholesterol with the stress, that we talked about.
Ticking time bomb. And then last but not least, number 3 is regular exercise. I would say, what would you say? Just getting out and doing a walk to start?
I'm just actually make it simple for those that haven't worked out. I'm like, are you able to do twice a week an hour?
Yeah.
And then they would go up to 3. So an hour would be 10 minutes stretching, 20 minutes cardio, and like 30 some minutes strength training.
Yep.
So do you have weights at home? Yeah, I have weights at home. Okay, can you move? Yeah, I can move. And then you have YouTube now, too, where you can put on a 20-minute video.
We have everything we need.
We have everything we need to do it. We don't even have to have a gym membership anymore. You can have it at home.
Yeah.
And so I say, can you do an hour? Again, it's only 20 minutes cardio, whether you're just marching in place.
Yep.
Just get moving.
Do something.
And then do your water. Let's concentrate on that. And then you have some weights, just do this. And then we can start developing it. And
habit. You start building it up.
And I'd say, even in the summer now, go walk in 20 minutes. Or even you love walking for an hour, it's fine, because you want to do more.
Yeah.
But again, you
got to do something.
With the weights, and really then we progress from there.
Yeah.
To build muscle and things like that.
Yeah. And so in 2025, if you're listening to this podcast and you're wondering what you can do, take these baby steps, right?
Yes.
You have to start somewhere, and remember this, and this is something that really spoke to me when I heard it, is by being disciplined, you're loving yourself.
That's good.
Right? Don't let if you know something is wrong, and Jill, you talked awareness. What's off? What's off in your body?
Yes.
What's off in your emotions? What's off in your mindset? What are the patterns and what are the cycles that you're getting stuck in? Write those down. Don't beat yourself up. Awareness starts first. Recognize these things, know these things, so that you can begin to make changes.
And I think too as leaders, and we're speaking to leaders, we have to be more responsible.
Have to be.
For ourselves.
Yeah.
So that we can actually be effective and fruitful for others to follow.
Absolutely.
And because God has chose us to be where we're at, so it takes more responsibility.
Yeah.
But not to put that weight on us, because we're going to be not perfect. We're going to make mistakes. And I love how you always are vulnerable with that, your journey. And it's good but you're on it. You're being consistent. You're moving forward.
Absolutely.
So again, leaders, I want to just, challenge them to make your health a priority.
Has to be.
To make balance a priority.
100%.
Boundaries. Because as you get busier and making more money, there's more responsibility and it seems like less freedom.
And if you don't build those habits now,
that's it.
You're not going to build them later.
No, but I really feel like too, a lot of times there's a restraint because God won't allow it. Because He's not going to allow you to be burnt out. He cares more about you than the money and the business and the ministry.
Absolutely.
You want your heart,
and
want
He'll
your
slow
soul.
you down intentionally.
He'll slow you down.
Because he
wants to build a foundation
that
starts with Him,
and
a foundation of wisdom principles that are not the system but the kingdom.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
I love that. And so if that's you and you're listening right now and you recognize that there's a need and you want to have a conversation with Jill, I highly recommend it. She is great at what she does. She's anointed. God's using her not only in my life, but in other people's lives. And if you know that there's a need and you need some accountability, you want some coaching, you just want to have a conversation to explore what that looks like, Jill, how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, actually, JillJaniec.org. Or again, just simple text or call 734-556-2184. Again, 734-556-2184. As well as Facebook, Jill Janiec as well.
Jill, we're going to bring you back because it's already been an hour.
Oh,
this time goes by so fast.
I love
it.
But
I want to
you covered a lot of ground.
Continue to be coming on the show because to me in 2025 and beyond, more and more, we want to address the issues that people are struggling with and give them solutions.
Absolutely.
And I know you are one of those solutions that God is using.
I love to talk to people about overcoming cancer, diabetes, blood sugar, blood pressure, all of these diseases that can be cured.
Yeah, absolutely. So guys, make sure you reach out to Jill because she is definitely someone that can help you. She'll have a great conversation with you, explore your situation, totally confidential, and she will I'm telling you, she will be able to help you with whatever you're going through. And you
guys, bring it to the other side.
Yes, absolutely. So if you love the show or you know someone that needs to hear this, go ahead and share this with a friend, a family member. Let them hear the episode. And if, again, you're loving the show, hit the subscribe button here on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. If you haven't followed me yet, you can on social media at the official Justin Ford. And before we wrap up today's show, I do want to remind you that this episode is brought to you by my friends over at Nextdoor Lending. Nextdoor Lending is not just a lender that sponsors the show. They are our personal lender at the Justin Ford Real Estate Team that we entrust all of our buyers to. And so if this year in 2025, you're looking to purchase a home, then you need to get refinanced or pre-approved, call my friends over at Nextdoor Lending. If you're looking to refinance your home because you're a homeowner, call my friends over at Nextdoor Lending. And if you're a real estate professional looking to partner with a great mortgage lender, they have a perfect A+ Better Business Bureau rating of over 1,000 5-star reviews. Call my friends over at Nextdoor Lending today at 888-885-3667 or visit their website at nextdoorlending.com. Two things that I always like to leave you with. Number one, it's not how you start. What matters is how you finish. And number two, with God, all things are possible. God bless you guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.